Okay. We are diving straight into, well, really one of the most critical diplomatic developments we've seen in years. This preliminary peace agreement announced between Israel and Hamas.
It really is a huge moment. I mean, after almost 2 years of just devastating conflict, the very fact that any agreement has been formalized, it's pretty stunning.
Yeah.
And this didn't just, appear out of nowhere. It took some really serious high-stakes mediation. Qatar and Turkey were leading that charge.
Right.
And the final negotiations actually happened in Egypt. So it's this multi-layered diplomatic effort. And the ripples, well, they're going to be global.
Absolutely. So our mission today, for you listening, is to get past those initial headlines. We need to really unpack the specific terms of this deal, and some of them are challenging. We need to understand who actually hammered it out and critically look at the implications, both immediate and longer term for stability in the region.
Exactly. And for you, as someone who wants to be well-informed, we really need to focus on feasibility. Let's look at what's actually on paper versus, the realistic risks and maybe the benefits of actually implementing this thing.
Okay, let's unpack this. So maybe let's set the stage first. Remind everyone where this current phase started.
Sure. The spark, of course, was October 7th, 2023, that horrific Hamas attack killed around 1,200 people.
Right.
And since then, diplomatically, it's just been failure after failure, tension constantly ratcheting up.
Which makes the way this news broke kind of remarkable in itself.
It really does.
Yeah.
President Donald Trump announcing this preliminary agreement late Wednesday night.
Yeah.
Not through the usual State Department channels or anything.
Yeah.
But directly on his own platform, Truth Social. That move alone just instantly threw it onto the world stage.
And the initial reactions, at least from the main players, they seemed pretty positive, almost uniformly so.
Yeah, Trump immediately hailed it, didn't he? Called it the necessary first step towards, I think his words were strong, durable, and everlasting peace.
Strong words.
Very strong. And the political alignment was interesting, too.
How so?
Well, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called it a great day for Israel. He confirmed his government would meet to ratify it.
Okay.
And he specifically gave credit to Trump's, quote, unwavering commitment to Israel's safety and getting the hostages freed.
And meanwhile, Hamas, they also put out a statement.
They did. They thanked the mediators, Qatar and Turkey, primarily.
But their focus seemed a little different.
It did. They immediately shifted focus to implementation, urging Israel to, quote, fully implement the agreement's requirements.
So putting down a marker right away.
Exactly. They're signaling, we'll be watching closely to make sure Phase 1 actually happens as written.
Which brings us right to Phase 1. This seems like the real make-or-break point, the sort of acid test for the whole deal.
Absolutely. It's the immediate, tangible thing that has to work. If Phase 1 fails, it's hard to see how anything else gets off the ground. You need that trust built.
And the absolute centerpiece, obviously, is the hostages. Phase 1 demands the release of all remaining hostages held by Hamas.
All of them. That's the key phrase. This has been the driving emotional and political goal for nearly 2 years now.
But there's a reciprocal action required from Israel, and it sounds significant too.
It is. Phase 1 also includes a partial withdrawal of Israeli forces from Gaza.
Partial withdrawal. What does that mean exactly? Are they pulling back completely?
Not completely. They have to pull back to an agreed-upon line. Now, for you listening, sources are indicating this line isn't about returning to pre-October 7th boundaries.
Okay.
It's more about creating a kind of temporary, non-military buffer zone inside Gaza. Allows for fighting to stop while Israel still maintains, tactical security positions further back.
Interesting distinction. And the timeline they offered for this initial phase, it seemed incredibly fast.
Almost unbelievably so. A senior Israeli source suggested the hostage release was expected within just 48 to 72 hours of the government actually ratifying the deal.
Wow.
Which suggests a level of really detailed, maybe back-channel planning that you don't often see for something this complex.
That speed, though, that really only covers the first few days. The much bigger challenge, the thing designed to last for years, is what comes next.
Right. That's the 20-point plan.
Yeah.
This is where you move from a temporary pause in fighting to a structured plan that aims to completely reshape Gaza's future.
So let's get into the architecture of this long-term framework. It wasn't just political leaders signing off, right? There were some serious diplomatic players involved in crafting this.
Oh, yeah. We're talking about Trump's team names like Steve Witkoff, his special envoy, and Jared Kushner, the senior advisor, were involved.
Kushner, right. He was central to the Abraham Accords.
Exactly. Leveraging those existing relationships. And they worked alongside Israel's negotiator, Ron Dermer.
So what were their specific roles? How did they manage to bridge what seemed like massive gaps?
Well, report suggests Kushner and Witkoff were heavily focused on the sort of economic side, the regional normalization aspects,
Yeah.
building on their past efforts.
Okay.
Dermer, coming from his position as Strategic Affairs Minister, was likely crucial in ensuring Israel's security needs, especially the long-term disarmament stuff, were spelled out very clearly. Non-negotiable points for Israel.
So security and future money kind of negotiated together.
Seems like it, a package deal.
Okay, so let's detail the core exchange within this 20-point plan. What does Israel give and what does Hamas give? Longer term.
All right, on the Palestinian side, the prisoner release is huge. Israel agrees to release around 250 Palestinians who were serving life sentences.
Life sentences, that's significant.
Very. Plus another 1,700 individuals who've been detained since the war began back in October 2023.
That's a massive number of releases, a huge political concession from Israel.
It absolutely is. But the exchange, the core condition on the other side, and this is probably the most challenging part.
Let me guess. Disarmament.
You got it. Hamas must begin the process to disarm and, crucially, relinquish control of the Gaza Strip. That's seen as fundamental for any kind of lasting peace.
Here's where it gets really interesting. But isn't asking Hamas to just disarm while they still basically run the place, isn't that historically a non-starter?
Yeah.
We've seen this movie before where disarmament plans for militant groups just collapse. How does this 20-point plan supposedly deal with that risk?
That is the absolute pivotal question.
Right.
And it's why the plan for what comes after Hamas, the governance part, is so critical.
Okay.
The agreement says Gaza will be temporarily administered by an international trusteeship.
An international trusteeship.
Yeah. The idea is this body steps into the security vacuum. It creates a parallel governing structure while Hamas is supposed to be disarming.
So who makes up this trusteeship? Is it like a UN peacekeeping force or something else?
It's specifically not a UN thing. The plan says it'll be overseen by the United States and regional partners.
Regional partners, meaning?
Right. Sources are suggesting that would likely mean countries like Egypt, the UAE, maybe Saudi Arabia.
Ah, okay. Countries with regional clout and deep pockets.
Exactly. The thinking is probably that this ensures more local buy-in, potentially faster financial help, and maybe avoids some of the bureaucracy you get with bigger international bodies.
So the U.S. and these Gulf states would essentially be running Gaza for a while. How long is temporary? And what's their main job, security or fixing things?
Indications point to a transition period of at least 2 to 3 years, maybe longer.
2 to 3 years minimum.
Yeah, and their job is definitely dual. First, they have to establish security dominance. They need to be able to actually enforce the disarmament of Hamas.
Right.
But second, and just as urgently, they need to restart basic civilian life infrastructure, services, because they're walking into an absolute humanitarian disaster zone.
Which brings us starkly back to the human cost. That's the immediate reality that this trusteeship, if it happens, will face on day one.
It's staggering. The figures from the Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza: over 67,000 Palestinians killed.
Unbelievable number.
Hundreds of thousands displaced inside Gaza.
Aid agencies have been sounding the alarm for months.
They have. Doctors Without Borders, others, they've used words like catastrophic. They're warning about hospitals completely collapsing, widespread, acute malnutrition.
So it's not just rebuilding, it's literally life support needed for a huge population.
Precisely.
So if this international trusteeship takes charge, how does the plan actually propose paying for the reconstruction? We must be talking tens, maybe hundreds of billions of dollars.
Trump actually addressed that in his announcement. He stated pretty clearly that regional powers, especially those wealthy Gulf states, would take the lead.
Using their tremendous wealth, I think was the phrase.
That's the one. The focus seems to be on mobilizing capital that can move quickly, maybe more flexibly than traditional aid channels.
But, you know, Gulf states don't typically pour that kind of money in just for charity. Are there strings attached? Does this funding signal something bigger?
Almost certainly.
Like normalization?
Absolutely. Sources strongly suggest this reconstruction funding is implicitly tied into those bigger diplomatic plays, especially the ongoing high-profile effort to get normalization between Saudi Arabia and Israel.
Ah, I see.
So the Gulf money serves multiple purposes. It's humanitarian aid, yes, but it's also a huge political stabilizer. It creates this massive financial incentive for everyone involved to keep the peace.
And it secures regional influence and trade at the same time.
Exactly. It's foreign policy via investment on a massive scale.
Okay. If we connect this to the bigger picture, The sheer scope of this deal. Hostages, prisoners, troop withdrawals, future government, reconstruction of Husband. I mean, this is arguably the biggest diplomatic achievement, or at least attempt, of Trump's second term so far.
Without question, it puts him right back at the center of the global stage on a major issue.
But let's be realistic. We have to acknowledge the skepticism, right? Phase one, the actual physical exchange, that feels like a powerful first step if it happens.
The crucial confidence builder, yeah.
But those later phases, Hamas actually disarming fully, this international trusteeship working smoothly, an eventual political handover, those feel, well, deeply contentious.
And frankly, unprecedentedly challenging. We're talking about fundamentally trying to redraw the political map of that area. There's so many ways it could go wrong.
The road ahead is definitely long and full of potential pitfalls, but that initial buy-in seems high, at least publicly.
True. And the success or failure of Phase 1 in the coming days or weeks will really set the tone. It determines if that very ambitious 20-point plan even has a fighting chance.
So what does this all mean? What does this whole massive undertaking signal for, global politics going forward?
Well, beyond just the terms written down, this preliminary deal has already kickstarted some major diplomatic choreography. High-level events are being planned.
Like what?
Egyptian President Sisi has apparently invited Trump to a signing ceremony in Cairo. That would likely include other key regional leaders as well.
A big public signing ceremony in an Arab capital. That sends a message.
It certainly does. And, maybe even more significantly, Prime Minister Netanyahu has reportedly asked Trump to address the Israeli Knesset, their parliament.
Wow. Address the Knesset.
Yeah. So think about the weight of those potential events. For you, the listener, a signing in Cairo, an address in Jerusalem to the Knesset.
It locks it in, politically.
That seems to be the goal. These aren't just photo ops. They're designed to anchor this agreement deep within the political structures of both the Arab world and Israel.
Signaling a massive, maybe irreversible commitment needed to actually see this incredibly complex, multi-phase agreement.
Exactly. That institutional buy-in, that embedding of the deal, that's maybe the most fascinating thing to watch unfold from here.
Yeah.
Will those structures hold?